Hello everyone. So today I will explain our assignment video streaming with the RTSP and RTP. RTSP is basically real-time streaming protocol, which is an application level network protocol, and RTP is a real-time transport protocol, which is basically the network protocol. And we have done in the Python the socket programming, and so first I'll show how it is working and then I will explain the code. So first I establish the connection between the server and the client. So first I'm establishing the server, and we need to assign some port number, and the server is started. So now I'm establishing the client, and we need to uh, add the host name, then the port number of the server, and also the port number at the end of the client. And the file which we require to open. Basically this pop-up window or the GUI window will open when the connection between the client and server will happen. Then we first set up, so we get the message at the server, both at server and client. After that, when we play, we can see this video, and in the background the sequence number of the packet at the client, we can also see that. We can also pause the video in between and also resume it again, and the whole process can both server and client can see. And the tear down is basically for closing this connection from the client side. So now I'm explaining the code, how actually, first I will explain the server side, how actually the server is working. So server basically first connect these to the socket, create a socket at the server side. Then the bind is actually used to connect the client and the server. Then this listen function actually waiting for the client, and at max it can queue the 5 client request at the server side. And we call the, then server will accept when the client send the request, server will accept that request. And so how the packet server is transmitting, that is written in the server workup file. And here we are importing video stream and RTP packet files. We have basically defined some of the variables like setup, play, pause, and tear down, and also initialize some of the values. Here, the init function is basically used to initialize the client server connection. Then run function will create some threads and receive a RTSP request. This function basically get the request which are sent by the client, and it will receive it, and then it will call first the decode function. So the server will decode the message which is sent by the client, and this function is basically written in RTP packet file. So basically, just we extract the byte stream and the byte array. Uh, uh, so next, it is calling the process RTSP request function. In this, it is extracting the sequence number and the request type. Based on the request type and the state, it will follow some procedure. Like if the request type is set up, then it will and state is initialized, then server will start process a setup, and it also generates some session ID and send some reply to the client. Like here it is the reply RTSP. So it is sending the message that uh, it successfully get the request. And similarly, like for the setup, if the request type is a play, it start playing the video, and for that it during that it will send create a thread and send the packets to the client. And similarly, if it is pause or the tear down, it will do the same procedure. It will send the message to the client that the uh, connection is established and the message is get properly. The OK 200 signifies that. And now the send RTP function, it will check whether the event is set or not. In the case of pause and tear down, the event will be set. So in that case, client server do not require to send any data to client, so it simply uh, uh, comes out from the loop and don't send any data. And if the server is requesting for playing the video, in that case the server will collect all the data like the frame number, address, and the port number, and it will send it to the client. And similarly, there's a make RTP. In this, we are just encoding the message, like we are adding the header. This function is basically in the RTP packet file. So we are basically creating a header, adding the header and a payload to the message and encoding that message, and after that we are sending to the server. This is how the server works. And now I'll explain how the client works. So the client launcher is basically just creating a new client, and for that it requires some of the attributes like server address, server port, RTP port, file name, and which I also passed when I'm establishing the connection between the client and the server. Like this is server address, this is server port number, this is RTP port number, and this is the file name. Now, like how the client will work. So basically client similar to the server, client initialize some of the variables, and then the client initializing the socket at the client side with the help of this. And then this is a function which actually works to build the GUI window, which is popping up like the window for the that pop-ups when we establish the connection between the client and the server. This window. For that, this is the code, and we have just implemented like the setup, play, pause, and tear it down button over here. And then the setup movie function. This is basically to set up when we click on the setup function, setup button, then this function is called, and it checks if the state is initialized. Then we call this send RTSP request function. So in the send RTSP request function, based on the request code and the state, the thread is called, and each time when the this function is executing, the RTSP sequence number will be changed by one. Here, first when we are calling, when we are playing, when we click on the play, the number RTSP sequence number is 2, then it will change to the 3, 4, based on the our choice, and similar to the setup. When we hover the setup, similar when we click on the tear down button or pause button or the play movie button, in all of these cases the send RTSP request function will be called and the sequence number will change accordingly. And this function basically works for that. And each time we are changing the state, like if we are setting up, then we are changing the request sent to the setup. If we are playing, then we change request state to the play. In that manner it will work. And in similar way, this pause button, for the pause button the pause movie function will work, and for the play, for play button, the play movie function will work. Then this is the listen RTP function. This is basically to receive the data from the server. Client will get some data, and if the request was play, then it, in that case, the client will receive some packets. So if the packet is came before the timeout, then it simply displayed the sequence number, as it will discard that late packet. Or if the request from the client side is like pause or tear down, then simply it ends the connection with the server. And the write frame is used to add the write the frame of the message, and connect to server is basically used to connect or establish the connection between the server and the client. And this function I already explained. And the receive RTSP reply is basically used to get the message from the server. And what the message that the server client get from the server, and it will pass that server that it will pass that message, and it will call this pass it function. In this function, we are basically extracting the sequence number and the session ID of that message. And based on the requests that are sent in that message, we are changing the state. Like uh, uh, if it is if this request sent by the client is set up, then we change this we set up the video, and we change the state to ready. So when someone click on the play button, it is ready to the play. Similarly for the play, and the state is changed to playing, and the video will start playing. And if it is paused, then also we are changing the state to the ready, because after pausing, someone will resume the video, then it should be in the ready state. And after tear down, we are changing the state to the initialize, because after closing, we need to set up the video again for running the video for the second time. Then there is a function open RTP port. In this, basically we are setting down initially the timeout time. So here we have set it to the 0.5 second. And then this function basically used to bind the client and the server. And handler is basically used when we want to close the GUI window. So it just asks to the client whether they want to close it or not. And also we have this video stream.5, which is actually used to get the frame of the data from server to the client, and it always read the 5-bit uh, frame length, and each time it read the 5 bits from that frame and send it. And these are the images which we have used while create while running the video. Thank you.